That'll get you going. Well, no team has as many Super Bowl wins as these two today. The longest tenured coaches, too. But the Patriots and Steelers look really different in Week 1. Pittsburgh off that win over the Bengals. New England off a loss to the Dolphins. Deontay Johnson making his way into work. Got
big day for him.
Out front. And we'll see if he can live up to the expectations for this offense. Our Sal Palantonio is in Pittsburgh. You know, Sal, I know you already know this, but the last time we saw a game between the Patriots and the Steelers where Big Ben and Brady weren't playing each other, 1998. It was back in some Drew Bledsoe, Cordell Stewart days. I'm sure you remember that, right?
I do. All that gray hair up here, you can tell. I've been around a while. I remember that game. Hey, it's the home opener for the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. It's a beautiful day for football, and here come the New England Patriots. And Mitch Trubisky's got to come to this party. He knows it. No T.J. Watt for the Steelers. They're 0-4 without T.J. Watt. When we talked to Mitch Trubisky after the game last week, he said, I've got to be better in my execution and my timing with my wide receivers. You know, last week in that game against the Bengals, he missed a screaming George Pickens down the sideline, beat all defenders right in front of the Bengals bench. He threw it out of bounds. He didn't want to get a sack. He threw it a little too early. But in overtime, scrambled to his left, hit tight end Pat Freiermuth for a big gain on third down that set up the game-winning field goal. And this is what Mike Tomlin likes about Mitch Trubisky, Sam. In the weighty moments, he's going to make a play. He's got experience. He's not going to turn the ball over. They want to see how he does against the Patriots, who are going to come after him today.
Yeah, it was a good start, Sal. But let's talk about his defense, because his defense sure helped him out in that Week 1 win. The Steelers' defense, well, let's be honest, they destroyed Joe Burrow and the Bengals in Week 1. Pittsburgh had 5 takeaways, including a pick-6 by Minkah Fitzpatrick, and then 7 sacks and 17 points off turnovers. All 3 of those totals led or were tied for the league lead in Week 1. But listen, they did all of that with T.J. Watt. They're not going to have him out there today, Teddy. So how do they pull this one off without him?
You lose the reigning defensive player there. You got big shoes to fill.
Yep.
So why don't we go to the film wall? Actually, let's drop down to the film wall, okay? Let me show you a couple players that have to step up. And I'm going to start with Minkah Fitzpatrick. Already last week, such an explosive game he had for the Pittsburgh Steelers, playing from his safety position, 14 tackles, just roaming the field here. Great safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers as he breaks up and makes this tackle right here. 14 of these. 14, that's a good game for a linebacker, let alone a safety. And then in coverage, reading the quarterback, Joe Burrow. If you're going to stare all the way on the right, like an open book, believe me, Minkah Fitzpatrick is going to read you and make plays like this from his safety position. And there he goes again. Pick 6. So quarterbacks, you better have a plan to look off Minkah Fitzpatrick. And then finishing off his game, are you kidding me? Pick 6, 14 tackles, takes care of the wing, blocks a kid, flattens, extends. Perfect technique there, saves the game right here, basically. Big play, blocking that field goal / extra point. And then Highsmith. He's the one that really has to step up, Sam, for T.J. Watt being gone. Spin move, there's the quarterback there. He had a career year last year, 3 sacks last week, being held. You see the hustle. So Highsmith, Fitzpatrick, these type of players got to pick up the slack for T.J. Watt.
All right, so Teddy's breaking down what some individual players need to do. But, Matt, when you look at this Dolphins-Ravens game, when they faced off last year, you think it was more the scheme of the Dolphins' defense that hurt Lamar Jackson?
It was incredible scheme. And listen,
yeah, show me some scheme.
All the time here, people talk about cover zero blitz. What does that mean? People will say it means all-out blitz. That is not true. That's not what cover zero means, okay? It means there's 0 helpers in the back end. Man coverage typically, but you don't know who's coming. There's your man coverage. It's man. They got 1 more than we got blockers, but it's also zone. We got fire zone. It's man and zone. We don't know which guys are coming. Lamar's got to get rid of it quick. He's got nowhere to go. He doesn't. So here goes. Again, they got 1 more than we got. Uh-oh, who's coming? Oh, we're fire zoning. It's man and zone and a peeler. He doesn't know where to go with the ball. The Dolphins had a great scheme, a great plan. So, hey, let's just go empty and get it out quick. Well, we got our defensive ends all coached up. Hey, get your hand up. He's got to come out quick. They know they can't block it. You mirror his hand, we'll get tips. Tips and overthrows, create turnovers. Got to get those. Thank you, Sam.
I'm here for you.
We'll go empty again. Look at this. Hey, maybe Lamar in space. There's no space here. We're ready for the quick game. The Dolphins were one step ahead last year. Will the Ravens have an answer this year? Again, game's on the line. We got a chance. Fourth down. Who's coming? We're not sure. Teddy, you say this all the time.
Disruption.
Mirror the hand.
It,
Mirror the hand. Interception. So it was sacks. It was interceptions. Really, they got embarrassed. And you heard Lamar Jackson talk about it this week. We got surprised. We didn't have a plan. Our plan wasn't a good plan. They'll have a plan this time. My question is, will they be able to execute?
Well, my question is that a sign of a lack of respect for a quarterback that you think just can't make the adjustment?
I think it's a pretty normal thing. They'll come with this. They'll say, hey, make sure, do you have an answer? Once you show that you have an answer, you won't see it the rest of the day. However,
He's gotta
you show
beat it,
that you
though.
don't
He's
have an
gotta beat
answer,
it, yeah.
there's blood in the water. You're going to see it so you can prove that you can do something about it.
They should have watched, remember, the Titans before that game. You remember that scene when he says we're going to blitz all night? That's what they did in that game. 25 blitzes against Lamar Jackson. They were coming for him. That was the second most in his entire career. Both looking for their first win after some rough starts last week. Kyler Murray against Derek Carr in a bounce-back game in this one. You know, Davante Adams was one of the bright spots in his debut for the Silver and Black. 10 catches for 141 yards against the Chargers. That's more yards than the wide receivers on his former Packers squad combined in Week 1. Not that we're comparing. I'm sorry. Shots fired. Can he do enough to help his team avoid the dreaded 0-2 at home today?
I've been on a team with a losing record, but we knew we could beat certain teams when you turn the film on, you know, and we'd go out there and we beat them. People are like, oh my gosh, how'd you do it? Well, when you turn the film on, we saw it, you know, based on what we had.
When you get beat like that, you know, at home, game one, yeah, it's gotta be a wake-up call for whoever, you know, felt complacent or whatever internally. You know, you gotta look in the mirror individually, and you know, do you really want to be here? Do you really want to be great? Like, what drives you? Like, those are the questions I feel like, you know, need to be asked.
That's what you want to hear from your quarterback after something like that. A little bit of accountability from Kyler. Always good to see that. But, Matt, when you look at these two teams after seeing their losses in Week 1, I hate saying this because it sounds so like this is what we always say, but it feels legit. Which team are you more concerned about at this point?
Yeah, well, they didn't look good. But, you know, when I watched the Raiders, I expected so much more to the Raiders because I really like Derek Carr as a player, and Davante Adams adding to the mix. You're like, oh, wow, he's already got the chemistry. This will work. But then it didn't work, and it looked sloppy, and they looked like out of sync. And all I can say is that, you know, basically Josh McDaniels' offense, the verbiage and the terminology, is so vastly different than from what Derek Carr has done his whole career, basically, with the Raiders. And I remember when I went from one team to another. I went from the Seattle Seahawks to the Tennessee Titans. And they called the play into the headset, and they'd be like, all right, you got base, you got ride 126, Exxon, Y drag. And I'm like, okay, that is really regular Fox 2, X dagger, Z post, Y shallow.
You're translating.
And I'm translating. And so it's like French and Spanish, like at some point you'll get it together. But just to me, you saw that learning curve for a guy that's really been in one verbiage for his entire career. I expect you'll see a very, very different Raiders team. You'll see a very, very different Derek Carr. And I think like guys like Renfro will show up. Renfro had 3 catches in the entire game. Like that's not gonna be what happens.
But doesn't that happen when you got that translation going on, and all of a sudden, oh, let me just go to my buddy for 17 targets? I mean, how much love is too much love before some of those other receivers are like, hey man, I'm open here, and you're going 17 targets over to Davante. So are we going down the same road as with the Green Bay Packers last year with Davante Adams?
I hope not. Well, when you look at what's going on in Green Bay, last week I talked about it's up to Josh McDaniels. Why? Because this was his second stint at getting a head coaching job and all the weapons that was included in this job. Then you trade and get a guy like Davante Adams in here. And, Brew, you said something. Don't forget about the other players in this offense. Yeah. I would like Derek Carr to be able to spread the love. You don't think Hunter Renfro's a problem? You don't think that Darren Waller's a problem? I like the Davante Adams, but like you said, do not fall in love with all them targets because you got also other playmakers out there.
Well, for the Raiders to improve, man, you know what's coming to town? The Cardinals. Oh, that's good because the Cardinals couldn't cover anybody. You talk about spreading it around. Kansas City went to everybody, man. The ball boy caught a pass. So to me, it's like I think this is a get-right game for the Raiders right here. I think the Cardinals have a lot of problems in that back end, in particular on that defense. So, I mean, I'm concerned about that one. And Davante Adams, Don't stop throwing to him because you know why?
You can't give him
Nobody
17,
can
though.
cover him. They're in the person on the
can't
planet.
give him 17.
Well, you could if you want to dehydrate him because this week, look, I can tell you this: nobody on the planet can cover Devontae Adams, so that's why you brought him in there.
It's a good point.
I get it.
The best
come on.
quarterbacks, go back to Patrick Mahomes. The best quarterbacks spread the ball around. You listen to Josh Allen. I'm going to spread the ball around. That's real. Tom Brady, his entire career, spread the ball around. It makes you so much more dynamic and tougher to defend when you can't just lock in on, hey, we're going to double one guy.
Well,
there's where he's going with
But
it.
bringing up Renfro, I mean, let's talk about Waller because watching the Isaiah Simmons project for now multiple years in terms of turning him into a linebacker that can do absolutely everything.
With no
One thing he
instincts.
couldn't do is cover Travis Kelce last week, and he had trouble with Kelce all day long. Well, Waller,
Fair.
let's show you're one of the best too, and he should be able to beat him too.
Real quick, there's one more thing that I want to also look at. There's a new face and a new place. Chandler Jones was with the Arizona Cardinals. Now he's with the Las Vegas Raiders. In order for the Arizona Cardinals to win this game, it's going to have to take a lot of footwork and a lot of playmaking from Kyler Murray. Chandler Jones is going to have to chase him for
Taking my
4
rap
quarters.
notes now? You
I'm
taking
sorry.
my stuff?
I am so
that was,
sorry.
That was what I was going to share with the country. And it sounds better coming from you. I will say this, though. Cliff Kingsbury's defense, to your point, I mean, that was the worst showing his defense has ever had in the NFL. That looked like some old text stuff. They gave up 44 points. That's the worst of his NFL career. Let's see if they can fix that on the road against the Las Vegas Raiders. For now, from Las Vegas, back to New York, or New Jersey, should I say. This is a family affair for Rex. Both of his sons, Baker Mayfield and Daniel Jones, getting after it today. Who will have the better game? An intriguing year for both of these teams as this one gets set to kick off. We go to Adam.
All right, Sam, coming up next, Trey Lance was swimming last week in Chicago. We'll tell you how the 49ers are evaluating last week's performance and why Lance won't be getting any help from Mother Nature again. Plus, it was an incredible atmosphere